Hello everybody and welcome. This is Ryan Dara. You're in my shop, the Ryan Dara manufacturing facility, I suppose, and we're gonna go over our products. We're gonna split it up into different videos. I might do maybe a few products per video. So this first one, we're gonna start out with the core product. And what is this? Why does this exist? This is the RDM Piaggio billet engine case. And you know what? In this video, I'm going to include what we are as a company at RDM and what we're trying to do. So, I'm Ryan. I'm a real enthusiast into this hobby. I've been doing it since I'm 16 years old. I always had a feeling that these bikes could be more that maybe back of the stock cast form, they were almost a little bit embarrassing because they weren't, you're not going to really do a wheelie or a big burnout or some really impressive acceleration rate. And I didn't like that. I kind of, I knew it was fun still, but I wanted something that really showcased where we are as far as technology and engineering and just like other, dirt bikes, go-karts, well, not go-karts, but unless it's a racing go-kart. But, other forms of motorsports have really, pushed it and they're impressive. So I wanted to do the same for this hobby. So we went for the most aggressive, intense, competitive design we could, which is this Piaggio platform. See that really aggressive port shape there. And to really explain why it's so competitive is one, it's just the right, in my opinion, piston diameter, 47.6 millimeter, and it's not too heavy, not too small, just right for very high RPM, which is what we want. We want to extend the RPM range so we can have a gearing advantage on the racetrack. We also wanted a lot of low-end torque because we don't slip our clutches to help minimize low-end, low torque situations that are typical with very high performance two-strokes. So what we did was we took a standard sports kit, which is already known for being a little bit on the torquey side, and we took this head here, and then a kit that would utilize this head, and see how that drops in. Let's see if we can measure it and show you guys. Quite a significant amount, over 2.5 millimeters. And then we took that and we went now to, you can see that, we reversed it. So now the piston actually goes above the deck instead of staying well deep into the bore. And what that allows us to do is lower the timing of the engine, and we end up with about 180, 123 timing. And based on my testing and my experience, that's really good timing as a base platform to start with for just racing in general, it's competitive, it's proven on the track. And this engine is just, probably now I guess we'll call it the 4th generation of this platform. Here's some benefits with this case over the China case. If you're new to this and not very familiar, we have these modular motor mounts. So in any case, if you have a cast engine or you have a billet engine, you typically want adjustable motor mounts. And the reason why you want adjustable motor mounts is actually because of exhaust fitment. As you know, we have big expansion chamber exhaust, often refitted from dirt bikes or whatnot, but by tilting the angle of the engine a little bit and the mounts accommodating that little bit of tilt, it makes the job of fitting an exhaust dramatically easier, and you can optimize it a lot quicker. So, and in addition, it can also help with the carb mounting angle. So that's the mounts. The mounts can also be moved to side as well. That's actually the back. Here's the front. And but essentially, there's room for. We have some washers on both motor mounts. You must include these 3 washers, and you can move them to either this side or this side on both front and rear motor mounts. These 3 washers, 1, 2, 3, or however many, and you can shift the engine's position side to side to help aid with chain alignment. So that's another benefit. The port shape that's unique to these Piaggio cylinders is already cut in. The deck height is very unique. That's the height of this top surface. That's very specific to this build, and that's already established. In addition, it's now a case read engine, which means the engine is fed in through the engine case, which is, simply put, it's optimal. And we run, for our configuration, the optimal read, set type of read. There's many types of read you can buy, and this is optimal. I say it's optimal because it's the best read that has a fairly narrow profile. And we need the fairly narrow profile because of the clutch housing. And you can see it in there. I like this one, these Molossi, but basically they call them Minarelli horizontal family of reeds, and they fit various different machines, like I think Yamaha Aerox, A-E-R-O-X, I believe. And that reed goes right in there. So you're gonna need a reed for your engine. So essentially, the case is a piece of metal that connects all of the best parts. The Piaggio scooter cylinders, as far as air-cooled cylinders go, they're the king. There's nothing better. Unless you maybe start going to flange mount, there may be something, but Piaggios are widely available. The stage 6 cylinders we use are the only ones that have this head that dip in. And that's really what makes this Piaggio special. So we are stuck to the stage 6 cylinders. However, that's not a terrible thing because they have a really great blend of affordability, durability, and they come in 2 different flavors. They come in a sporty oval exhaust and then a split exhaust for, just maximum output if that might be what you're out after. I do recommend for pretty much everybody, go with the oval sporty exhaust. And we also have the built-in clutch cable mount right here. Built-in coolant fins, that helps, and the billet material in general is just a lot stronger. We also have the stud mounting holes. The threads are slightly recessed because when you tighten the studs a lot, it actually swells the area right around the threads from the threads pushing outward. So by having the threads start a little bit deeper in the engine case, it makes it so the gasket, after a lot of use, seals and seals and seals, and it doesn't fail on you. So that's a nice feature. It also only fits these KTM 50 style ignitions. Now this is a real high quality one from Soletra, and this one has the slotted holes, which I recommend. It makes it a lot easier to adjust your timing. And then this is our ignition cover. So our engine case does not take the ignition that these family of 2-stroke engines would traditionally take, but it takes an even more widely available KTM 50. Now, Soletra makes them, but also you can get a clone of the real ignition. And in both cases they work, in both cases it's the same cover. I want to go over, there's instructions for building these engines, but I want to also remind everybody that this is the ignition hardware. 2 of these bolts. One of these thick washers goes on top of the ignition, and one of them goes underneath. And here's what that looks like. And then that goes right in there. So yeah, that's an improvement. Now, of course, my crankshafts only accept these KTM50 ignition magnets as well. So, essentially, like I said, this is a platform that allows you to use the best possible parts on a small motorized bicycle engine. We changed very little. It still accepts the same clutch. You know, any clutch that a cast engine can take, this can take. And everything's just higher quality. This is a strong 6061. And we focused on anything that would affect how the engine would run. We focused on just making that as precise as possible, especially. For example, the deck is extremely square and true to the crank bores. And the crank bores are perfectly parallel to the clutch bores. And that's the main thing, you know, for us. Because that, with a very high RPM engine, which this is, that's what's necessary. We have a lot of these out there. They're really well proven. And it's just a platform. They're really tunable. There's so many little variables you can change that make a big difference. In almost all cases, it runs great, but if you really master it, you can get it to run amazing. You know, just it's shocking. It's intense what this thing can put out, and it's intense at many different RPMs: low RPM, medium, extremely high. It delivers. It will exceed your expectations. So that's the Piaggio engine case. It comes apart by just wiggling it after you get the bolts apart. Here's a little trick. If you have it stuck together with gasket sealer and you want to crack it, find a bolt about maybe this size, a little shorter than this one, that fits in there, and put a nut on it, and then put wrenches on it and loosen the nut. And basically you're using this as a jack with a nut on it to inside the reed housing to split the case open. That's how I open my engines up, using the reed housing. The engine's strong enough to take it. Just make sure you have all the bolts out. Another, before I finish this little video, is the bearings have oiling holes. Now, just to manage expectations when people are getting these cases from RDM, I want people to understand what we're trying to achieve here. What, like, essentially what our mission statement is, which is we're trying to help push the hobby forward to have just really impressive high performance race machines. That way we can proudly represent our hobby. And at the same time, I understand where we started and what this hobby is all about. And it's really about incredibly affordable, amazingly simple, yet effective mode of transportation, and pushing it to racing limits without needing a big budget. You know, we can actually go to the racetrack with a cutting edge technology, and we don't need to be rich. So I always kept that in mind, and that's the main focus. I wanted to make the best parts, the highest performance designs possible, but I'd never forget that these need to be affordable. And that is always a top priority, to keep them affordable. Now, of course, you know, that means that there has to be sacrifices. And what that means is the main way I make this more affordable of course, is the design, just clever design. That's the number one way we do it. But in addition, what I do often is certain little sharp edges, little burrs here and there. There's always little things on pretty much all my parts that just need a tiny bit of cleanup, maybe you see those little sharp edges. But the idea is, I'm getting you what you need. What you need are these parts that you cannot just go make on your own. Nobody in the garage can just go spit these out, Maybe a few guys can, but it takes a lot. So I get you what you need. That doesn't mean it's done, it doesn't mean it's ready. And I say that in the instructions. You need to take little files, little scrapers, sandpaper if needed. Take the stuff in a sink with some Dawn dish soap and clean it and then dry it all off, all that. Now, I could do all that and have it done perfectly for you, but then the stuff would not be affordable. What we don't do is we don't go make our things in China. We don't go get junk Chinese material. We don't skimp on design. We don't go for lower performance, but more affordable. But you do need to clean your own engine. You do need to make sure there's no little sharp edges. There's going to be things that can cut you all over these engines. And normally, you're not going to get an iPhone that's like that. But iPhones are $1,000. So that's what we do here. That's just sticking true to this hobby. And our hobby is an affordable hobby. But at the same time, we want to be proud. And we achieved that. These things freaking scream. So there you go. That's managing expectations. That's what RDM is. And if you keep watching these videos, what you're going to learn is this type of innovation is not static, it's dynamic, which means we're going to keep coming with it. And you'll see that. You'll see a lot of progression in our designs. And another thing to ensure that we stick true to our affordable, DIY nature. All of the parts are cross-compatible generationally. So the parts I made in the very beginning of this and the parts I'm going to make at the very end, they'll all be interchangeable. Everything will still fit together. And that's intentional. We don't want to make whole new platforms, then obsolete the last ones and make it so all those people now need to go and upgrade every, it's not what we do. I also keep the design simple, so in a pinch, things could be made at a machine shop, nothing's too crazy. You can Dremel, you can modify things. We really believe in that right to repair kind of thing, and, like there's clones of these ignitions available, so if you need a cheap ignition, they're available. We have instructions, we tell you part numbers, we tell you what all the parts are that we use, so you can get it yourself. But another thing we do, which keeps the price low, but it also teaches people, is we really try to push people to only buy these engines in parts. And if we sell it in packages, it'll still come in parts. We offer instructions. Now, these engines are extremely simple. They're extremely durable. I also sell all the parts individually. And if you make a mistake putting something together and something gets damaged, I have done it in the past, I'll work with you. And we'll make it so you don't have to just go buy maybe everything at, full price, or we can rework and fix and, re-tap holes. But in general, everything's durable. I have full faith pretty much anybody can put these together with patience, persistence, and, just a little research and make good use of the group. And by making people put them together, and by not supplying a complete running engine, it makes it so people understand what they own. And by understanding it, they can maintain it. And by maintaining it, this thing can last for many years. It can maybe outlast generations. And that's where the true value comes from. Traditionally, these engines last a few seasons to maybe a few years, but not these guys. That's been proven. All right, on to some more videos next time, guys.